The first clang wasn't just a sound, it was a physical blow, a resonant tremor shaking the very foundations of the city. A solitary funeral bell, rhythmic and chilling, cut through the desperate whispers that had, until then, been the plague's hushed prelude. From my small, quiet apartment on the city's forgotten edge, I watched the burgeoning chaos, a stark contrast to my own imposed stillness. They had discredited my research, dismissed my warnings as mere hysteria, effectively silencing me even as the rising tide of fear drowned out all reason. My voice had been forcibly muted, yet in that profound, isolating quiet, I felt a different kind of strength taking root, a calm power amidst their growing panic. The city's groan echoed in my bones, a symphony of suffering that threatened to drown me whole. For a moment, a sharp, bitter desire for justice, for payback, for every slight, every dismissal, flickered like a dying ember. But it was quickly snuffed out, not by weakness, but by a sudden, potent clarity that cut through the despair. Revenge felt small, a futile flicker against the roaring inferno consuming us. What was needed wasn't retribution, but swift resolution. Not anger, but action. My burning desire for justice, for past wrongs transformed, not into cold indifference, but into a quiet, unwavering resolve to save lives, to bring some balm to the pervasive sickness. This wasn't about defiance, it was about survival. I remembered Master Thorn, publicly shamed and stripped of his remedies during the last outbreak. His precious supplies confiscated for daring to treat beyond the guild's iron grip. The memory was stark. His trembling hands, the jeering crowd, the empty cart where his vital herbs had been. Operating unsanctioned meant thin margins, constant danger, and a perpetual shortage of essential components, every choice a gamble, every success a whisper against the city's scream. It was a perilous game of shadows, but the city's need was the musty scent of dried herbs clung to the old texts in my secluded study, a stark contrast to the crisp, sterile air that once filled my innovative clinic. There was a time, not so long ago, when my methods brought actual light into this city. New treatments for illnesses that had long claimed lives, a different way of thinking about wellness that relied on observation and science, not just rote tradition. My hands, then, were busy, vibrant with purpose, turning pages of promising research, mixing compounds, and offering hope. But Master Thorn, bound by centuries of practice and an undeniable fee, a current too strong to resist, R of anything new, saw my work not as progress, but as a dangerous disruption. He moved with a quiet, persistent force, whispering doubts and leveraging his formidable authority until my practice was dismantled, my theories dismissed as reckless, leaving the city unknowingly vulnerable to the very plagues my solutions could have mitigated. Now, my faded medical texts lie stacked, rarely touched, alongside a discarded, leather-plagued doctor's mask, a relic of a past humiliation, its vacant eyes a reminder of the blind adherence to outdated beliefs. Yet, looking at that mask, I no longer felt the sting of professional exile, but a quiet, unwavering resolve. It reminded me that while they had suppressed my voice, they could never extinguish my knowledge. The silence had served its purpose, allowing me to observe, to plan, and to understand just how profoundly their rigid adherence to the old ways had damaged our people. The official efforts felt like a noisy, frantic charade, the plague doctors, scrambling publicly, but achieving little. My strategy, however, was born from a different cloth, silent, meticulous, and entirely independent. I operated outside their chaotic system, transforming my quiet corner into a data-driven sanctuary. While they sought visible solutions, I began my unseen work, observing patterns with a clinical eye, testing hypotheses incrementally. With a few secret patients, those overlooked and abandoned, each small, verifiable improvement became a vital thread, a silent testament to my methodology. Have you ever worked tirelessly in shadows, knowing your time to shine would eventually come? While whispers of fear still echoed through the community, my days settled into a rhythm of quiet, methodical work. Each recovery was a small victory, meticulously cataloged. My leather-bound ledger tracked every measured dose, every documented improvement in pulse or breath, serving as irrefutable proof. Notebooks filled with precise sketches of improved ventilation for sick rooms and crude diagrams illustrating the exact application of various herbal poultices. Their loud pronouncements of superstition melted against my quiet, undeniable efficacy, born of observation and empirical evidence. The true pattern interrupt came with the mayor's youngest daughter, a feverish child whom 3 other healers had given up on. For 3 days, relying solely on observation and a carefully titrated blend of willow bark and mallow root, I worked. When her fever finally broke and her color returned, the mayor's wife offered a single, silent nod, a powerful acknowledgement. That day, the influential family's quiet patronage shifted firmly to my corner, opening doors I hadn't even dared to imagine. My quiet, which they'd mistaken for insignificance, began to echo in places they couldn't control, a soundless force building beneath the surface. The families I'd helped, initially hesitant, found their voices, not through grand pronouncements, but in the quiet confidence of shared relief. Their stories of resolution, of tangible financial and legal clarity, spread through the city's unseen networks like ripples from a dropped stone. These genuine, grateful testimonials directly contrasted the Guild's meticulously crafted public image and their persistent, dismissive denials of any deep-seated issues. Soon, the accumulating murmurs reached official ears. Councilman Davies, a man known for his painstaking diligence rather than public theatrics, initiated a discreet, internal review of these anomalous successes. His preliminary findings, documented in an internal memo and later referenced in a public affairs bulletin, subtly acknowledged an encouraging success rate using unconventional methodologies in areas the Guild had long deemed intractable. It wasn't a shout, but a precise, undeniable crack in their meticulously maintained facade, a quiet blade finding its mark. The inevitable pushback from Master Thorn and the Guild arrived in a flurry of official decrees, public notices plastered across the town square, denouncing unlicensed practitioners and warning citizens against seeking aid outside sanctioned channels. Thorn's words, sharp and laced with thinly veiled panic, painted me as a charlatan, a disruptor, but the fear in his voice was less about public safety and more about the crumbling edifice of his own authority. He craved control, yet all his noise only highlighted his desperation. My answer, however, was quiet. My influence, built on demonstrable results, and the trust of those I'd helped, proved too robust. Alongside my growing data logs, counter-petitions circulated, signed by grateful citizens recounting their personal experiences, their endorsements a far more potent force than any bureaucratic pronouncement. A subtle friction was undeniable. I heard whispers of Guild apprentices being instructed to monitor my movements, but their efforts were as transparent as Thorn's motives, merely confirming that the long-anticipated confrontation was now officially underway. The Grand Assembly Hall, alive with murmurs, felt worlds away from my quiet solitude. This public stage was truth's crucible. My steady hands placed meticulous ledgers and patient testimonies on the podium. Each entry, each attested signature, irrefutably rebutted years of dismissive whispers, finally closing my past discreditation. Suffocating ignorance, allowing unchecked fear, now yielded to data's clarity. I watched the council's skepticism give way to dawning comprehension. My methods, once condemned, were discussed for adoption, promising informed public health over past shadows. My gaze swept the room, not with triumph, but with calm purpose. I am not merely a plague doctor, I declared, my voice clear. I am the architect of a healthier future. That future, a new, scientifically driven public health initiative, already had blueprints.